Hey guys, today I wanna continue the weapon overview series for the Sororitas class. We're gonna take a look at the next two weapons. The Hand Flamer and Brazier and the Plasma Pistol and Brazier. Okay, let's start with the Hand Flamer and Brazier. The first skill is Phosphorus Barrage. From my experience, this is one of the strongest attacks from her weapons. It is channeled, so again we get the benefits of not depleting enrage tokens while we keep firing, and we can easily generate tokens as well if we are using a neural implant with this enchant on it. It applies burn dots and it's an AoE attack, so we can get some of the great benefits from the AoE tree, like the suppression gain or the damage per enemy hit. But the really insane effect of this skill is the wording below. It leaves fiery patches on the ground that burn enemies. The fact that it leaves fiery patches in combination with its insane short cooldown is like spamming a small version of Scorched Earth or Phosphorus Splash from the Flamer or Heavy Flamer all the time. So what does this mean? The constant burning areas trigger a lot of on-hit effects, spreading your vulnerabilities easily, and trigger a lot of burn dots. The combination of channeled, AoE and persistent ground effects that can be spammed make it one of the strongest weapon attacks in the whole game. The next skill is Focused Burn. When we look at the tags and compare it to a flamer, you can see that it's just a better version of Flame Cone. The fact that it has armor breaking alone is very strong. It is of course a channeled skill again, so the same things apply in regards to enrage tokens. It is also high suppression, so in combination with armor breaking, it's a great skill to deal with elite and other harder enemies, because they have a suppression bar and are often armored. The knockback tag will interrupt enemies around you and give you some room to breathe. It applies again burning dots, and it will consume the castigation marks you placed on with the first skill. This will give you up to 5% damage reduction for 5 seconds. You will be walking forward while channeling it, but if you keep the mouse close to your character, you can stop advancing and stand still, but that will be much harder in the heat of the battle. Also consider that this one doesn't leave fiery patches on the ground, so the first skill is maybe much better for a dot build. When you advance on a big enemy, it's easy to make your character spin in a random direction upon contact, so you have to practice keeping your mouse close to your character when you are using this skill. The last skill is Fire Nova. It releases a nova around your character, leaving a burning area on the ground. It also deals high suppression, which is great, just the cooldown is a bit high. But with the right setup, like a good amount of cooldown reduction, perks like Tactician, and passives like this one in the AoE tree, or this one in the movement tree, we will be able to use it much more often. The critical hits from our other skills, in combination with this passive, will reduce the cooldown greatly, as you can see. Let me give you some recommendations now. As for all heat weapons, you want to increase your overheat so you can use them longer, either with enchants like this, or perks like this, or this, and passives like this one. Crit chance and strength doesn't only increase our normal damage, But if you hit the threshold of 86 or 136, you get stronger dots. The damage per debuff enchant is one of the strongest enchants in the game, but of course it's not the only viable option. The new weapons are not yet included in the enchant viewer, so I cannot give you more recommendations for now. Good Psalm doctrines here are those, depending if you wanna go more into base damage or dots. The channeled abilities and burning areas also allow us to easily use one or even two of those signums. Great passives here are of course the AoE tree, the heat attacks tree for the overheat cooldown, the burns, and the heat vulnerability, the critical hit tree for the increased crit chance to trigger our enrage tokens, the crit strength to boost our dots, and of course the small benefits like 100% damage increase, suppression damage, and healing. You saw how strong this passive is in the movement skill tree. It can reduce greatly our cooldown from our Fire Nova. And we are using again a combo weapon, so you might wanna take this passive too, to increase your attack speed on every skill use. In our perks there are several good choices to increase our damage, like this one. You could use this one for overheat, this one if you want your dots to heal you. Here we get a flat 50% damage bonus. This one will increase your dot damage, but it reduces your non-dot damage. This one gives you up to 75% damage bonus with a full faith bar. Here we get some overheat reduction and heat damage bonus. This one blinds all enemies affected by our dots. The Puritan perk gives us an energy shield, and while it's active we get also heat damage bonus. And of course if you're leveling or grinding, you can exchange them for those two movement speed perks. Lastly, I always recommend Blessing of Saint Victorious. For our acts of faith, there are several good choices. I would use the Fiery Heart always, since it triggers on dealing heat damage, which we easily do with our burning areas on the ground. So we can trigger the 50% heat damage and burns in 3 meter radius. Other good choices are of course this one if you play with enrage tokens, or this one, so you have another source that deals heat damage and you get some passive healing. The Sacred Rite Burning Devotion can help you to trigger on-hit effects, spread your burns, and apply heat vulnerabilities around you. So it's a great addition to this combo weapon. Next, let's have a look at the Plasma Pistol and Brazier combo. The first skill is Ignition Bolt. It's a pretty standard ranged attack. It has the assault tag, so you wanna be in 10 meter range when using it. It's single target, so if you are using it on an enraged token build, be careful, since you can easily spend all of your tokens while firing. But the writing is very interesting again. If you hit burning enemies with this skill, you will trigger AoE Novas. I recommend that you are getting this passive, so your crits will burn enemies. That way you will keep applying burns while firing and just keep triggering the AoE Novas. If you are using an enraged token build, you want to use this attack as a filler, and your two other attacks to generate tokens. If you keep spamming it, you will just drain your tokens very fast. Of course, that doesn't apply if you make a Berserk token build. The next skill is Flame Burst. It's piercing, so it shoots through enemies. It has high suppression, so it's great for champion and other elite enemies. And it's AoE again, so we get the benefits from our AoE tree. Especially the middle skill will help us to reduce the higher cooldown. It shoots a ball of flame that leaves fiery patches on the ground and releases some plasma shots at the same time. The burning patches, as you can see, only stay for a very short time. Also, the range of the shot is really good. You can shoot it very far and apply your dots early before engaging. The grids of the burning area will trigger enrage tokens with our neural implant. last skill is Scorched Earth. It's maybe my favorite attack from this combo weapon. It leaves persistent burning areas on the ground, deals high suppression damage and applies burns. What I like here is the big area of it. The duration of the burning areas is also much longer and the cooldown is pretty short. As you can see, the damage from our burning areas stack up our enrich tokens, so we have a good way to gain enrich tokens here, even if we don't play with the channel skill. For the recommendations, everything from the first weapon also applies to this one. That's why my recent build can use both weapons. The only difference here is that you might want to consider the tactician perk. With that you can use the two skills much more often, which helps you to spread your burns. Thank you guys for watching, I hope it was helpful. And look out for part 3. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you wanna support the channel, have a look at the link